Hey, good morning. Today is Monday, April 6, 2020, the Monday before Easter. And as we prepare for Easter, we've decided to tweak our church-wide reading and prayer calendar just slightly. So these devotional videos over this week are not going to be using our normal reading calendar, but instead we're going to follow along with a reading plan that's specifically designed for Holy Week. And you can find that new reading plan for this week on our website by clicking the COVID-19 resources tab and then by clicking the Holy Week at Home tab. And our reading for this morning comes from Isaiah 56 verses 1 through 8, and then also Luke 19 verses 41 through 48. And in Luke's gospel, where we'll be focusing during this video, in Luke's gospel we read about the events which occurred directly after Jesus' triumphal entry. And the journey for that day began a few miles outside Jerusalem, and we've just seen the crowds of disciples rejoicing and praising Jesus for his arrival as their king. They're excited because they assume that Jesus will finally reveal himself to be the Messiah and free the nation from their oppressed state. But then the scene cuts in verse 41, and we leave the celebration of the crowds, and Luke zooms in for us on the Christ. And what are we told? Well, we find him weeping. And while the crowds are singing, Jesus is sobbing. And this is not how we typically think of Palm Sunday and the triumphal entry, is it? Right? If you search for images of Jesus' triumphal entry in Google, you will be hard-pressed to find one with him crying in it. But that's what Jesus does, right? He's about to commit this tremendous act of love and sacrifice, and he finds himself in tears. And he's crying, we're told, because he knows that because Jerusalem has rejected him, they will be visited with destruction. And this destruction comes 40 years later at the hands of the Romans. This is the people with whom God had entered a covenant with 2,000 years prior. This is the people God had rescued from slavery all those generations ago. This is the people whom he had brought to the promised land, to the land promised them to Abraham. And he had blessed them with a great King David and a kingdom that thrived under Solomon. And though they strayed, they were the people God had pleaded with through the prophets to return to him, and he had led them back to their land. Though they were unfaithful, God had been faithful to them for millennia. And now that he had finally sent his rescuer, they were rejecting him. So Jesus weeps over his bride. But then in the next scene, we see another powerful emotion of Jesus. No longer is he weeping, instead he is angry. He passionately clears out the temple from all its corrupt businessmen seeking to take advantage of those coming to worship. And so here Jesus expresses two profound and surprising emotions in the face of his people's sin: sorrow and anger. So as we prepare to rejoice and celebrate on Easter in just a few days, let us not rush past these other two more difficult emotional responses to Jesus' work in the face of our sin. Are we broken by our sin like Jesus was broken by our sin? Are we passionately or even angrily determined to turn from our sin this week? Let's discipline ourselves this week to daily ask God to help us view our sin as he views our sin. Jesus' death and resurrection would wipe them completely away as far as the east is from the west. Yet this does not mean we can treat our sin casually or flippantly. Let's glory in the grace lavished on us while never forgetting that the cost was his life. Have a great day.